So this should be fun. So I thought I'd start with me then. So I grew up in the south coast of New South Wales. I've played sports my whole life. I'm a massive cricket and soccer fan. I started my life as a chef. I always like to put that up there. I did it for 8 years. It really teaches you a lot of things, and I worked in some amazing restaurants, and it teaches you a lot of hard work. I'm a massive NRL fan, so I'm a massive Bulldogs fan. I'm not arguing with my wife on a Sunday. We're not having a disagreement. I'm just yelling at the ref. Normally is what's going on there. Health, gym, fitness, mindset, it's a huge part of my life. I started in sales. It's now 15 years ago. I need to update that. I spent 12 of them in dealerships, so doing sales and finance. Everything I do, I generally do it 100%. If anyone knows me, you know, if I own a house, I want to own a bigger one. If I'm a GM of a dealership, I want another one. If I've got something, it's generally too small. So I generally keep going. The reason why I get up every day, the reason why I moved to the Gold Coast 5 years ago, everything is for this little fella here. So his name is Banks. You'll often see him pretty much every afternoon down at the soccer fields, as you can see there. He's become a bit of the poster boy for Broad Beach United. Down there, I coach his soccer team. As well as, obviously, we've got our little dog Storm, who was all black before Banks come along. Now she's been poked and prodded and shot, and she's going grey slowly. And that was me and my lovely partner Lauren before we had Banks, so we could go and have fun. We do things other than being at a soccer field on a Saturday and a Sunday and a Tuesday and a Thursday. Our team, so, you know, obviously we're a finance broker. It takes a little bit more than me. I'm probably in the face of everything. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So obviously there's myself. Lauren keeps me and Chris in shape. So Chris is our other senior finance broker. So he's actually been doing it longer than me. He just wants to sit at his house at Bribie Island. He doesn't really want to do anything else other than that. So Chris looks after a lot of our bad credit stuff, all the bits and pieces I can't get to. Very, very experienced broker. And then Lauren obviously keeps us both in shape. So checks our admin work and makes sure everything's up to date and that we're doing everything as we should. So. Services. So we do have 50 lenders on board for us at the moment. So finance for us is generally not an issue with anything. Vehicle buying service. So with being in dealerships for so long, the biggest issue I found was clients went and got approved when I come out for finance, but then what happened after that? So our goal then become going to the dealerships, negotiating and working that out for clients as well. Therefore they didn't have to. We do automotive dealer's license, so we can do vehicle trade-ins. We're now working on our fleet management systems as well for our trades and larger businesses. Unbiased advice is probably one of our biggest things. Now, if you go into a Kia dealership or a Mercedes dealership, they're going to want to sell you that Mercedes, that Kia. It's the best car on that day. That's not the case with us. So buy any car you want. It's just us there to offer you a little bit of advice and assistance. We do personalised handovers. I love that. We've got a big, massive red sheet. Go and hide it in the garage. Have a bit of fun, especially with first buyers, kids, stuff like that. It's really great. And access to fleet pricing. So our dealers don't see us as a one-off purchase. We buy, might be in different names, we might 15 to 30 cars a year off them. So obviously they're offering us prices that do suit that. I'm into cars. Cars are my thing. It's, you know, what I've always done. But what else do we finance? We finance motorbikes, boats, trailers, tractors, farm equipment, excavators, concrete stuff, gym equipment. Anything that's an asset to your business, we can pretty well finance that to assist. A couple of client scenarios. So these are some things that probably step a little bit out of the ordinary that say, you know, a bank or something wouldn't do. So we had a 1 month ABN holder. So a young fella went out as an ABN holder and just assumed he could get money. Not quite the case. The dealership went to go buy himself a brand new van. They wanted a 20% deposit. Of course, new ABN holder with a 20% deposit saying, can you give me 10 grand and we'll give you 30. Jenny doesn't always work that well, but we're going to approve with no deposit. So because he had previous experience, we had lenders that will say yes to that. Vehicle price, then we had a look at it, was 55 grand. Made a few phone calls, we then got that down to 51 there for him. So that was a great experience. And then obviously he didn't have to put in the 20% deposit. So that saved a lot for his cash flow and got his business up and rolling quickly. First time borrowers are a massive one for us. The banks actually don't like them for some reason. You'd think they would, but they don't. We get a lot of first time borrowers approved at very good rates. This one needed 2 cars, so sadly both the cars are broken down. So we managed to get them both done under the 60 grand budget. and we saved $2,500 a car. So by making a few phone calls and getting them done. So that was a big one. This is our biggest one that we've done. They're actually up to 27 cars. So non-for-profit businesses are very hard to get approved, and they were declined by a well-known fleet dealership, which I can't name. They basically said, sorry, you can't have finance because you're non-for-profit. They get $8 million a year from the government. So I said, give me your contracts, I'll find someone that will get you approved. And sure enough, we did. 27 cars later, they're still rolling on. They're on government fleet programs for all their pricing for their vehicles. It's all set pricing, service pricing, everything's all sorted. So they really didn't know what to do, and we managed to sort all that for them. So a little bit less about what we do and what's changing, I guess, in the automotive and finance industry at the moment. So the car market's been crowded. It's quite simple at the moment. We have over 60 brands. I think it's 67 brands of cars at the moment. That equals to over 500 models of cars. Imagine you're out looking for a car these days and there's 500 cars. Obviously, there's Chinese car makers coming in really hard and hot. That's what is causing this. More choice, I guess, than we've ever seen. So there's a lot out there. Does it always help? Oh, I don't necessarily think so. 10 years ago, we maybe had 40 brands to choose from. Today you sport for choice, but it seems to be causing more confusion than it is, and it's having issues with finance and resale, because a lot of finance companies don't always want to back these new brands because they don't know what's going to happen with them. So in the finance world, there is certainly more choice out there for finance. Manufacturers, so these are a big one at the moment. You're seeing 1.8%. Go read the fine print. It's over 36 months with a 20% deposit. So that's a lender saying we're not willing to back the car, in a sense. So the repayments on those style systems are actually ending up really, really high. The client came to us the other day. Based on that system, he had a $1,200 monthly loan repayment on a $35,000 car. That's massive. So for a business owner, that's not really ideal. The rate was the draw card, and they didn't approve him anyway. So they're quite strict with their approval rates and that side of things. There is now 70 lenders out there competing for loans and things like that. So there's a lot of competition in regards to that. But sadly, it's creating a lot of confusion rather than sort of clarity in regards to the market. So my biggest thing is if the people building the cars are hedging their bets against, in finance in regards to what's going to happen in 5 years with these cars, it creates a lot of uncertainty. So that's, I guess, where we can sort of come in and assist with that. So I'm not saying don't go out and buy them. That's not the thing. Every car out there, every manufacturer has its place. But I think at the moment it's important not to be the guinea pig in the test for these new manufacturers, because resale is a massive thing, and especially with balloons and things like that on the back end of cars. When they're worth $5,000 and then determine you owe 25, you're in a little bit of trouble on that side of things. So whereas your major manufacturers, your resale value is going to stay there and be quite tough. So that's a big thing that we're dealing with every day. We're checking out the new brands. We do go out to the dealerships. We look at them, we drive them, we touch them, we feel them. They all look amazing. There's a lot of tech going on in them. There's a lot of stuff going on. But it's important to make sure we know what we're selling. And that's our job, I guess, more than just get you finance and see you later. We want to make sure that we know what the product is that we're providing as well, and try and offer some advice. And sadly, because of all these manufacturers coming, we are going to see some big brands that we've probably had for a few years disappear. So there's quite a few that have either joining alliances with other brands, or they're probably on their way out, sadly, that you won't see very often. So yeah, so there's a lot going on there at the moment. Future for us, so I always like to say this is obviously what we do, this is where we are at the moment, but what's the next stage for us? So we've always got stuff in the pipeline. So we've currently released, what wants to work for me? Not really. It must be a big massive logo there. It's Alexander's Automotive Group. So it's now focusing on servicing and panel work, vehicle tracking, fleet management, and we're working on at the moment guaranteed future values for cars that we finance. It's a bit of a tricky one in regards to legality, but we're working on that in the future. So this is a massive thing for fleet clients. We've got a lot of tradespeople, a lot of business owners on board. You get 3, 4, 5 cars. What do we do next? Where do we service this car? How do we get it sorted? Where do we get our panel work? Oh, there we go. Bingo. Yay! Where do we get all this work done? So we've seen a bit of a hole there for a few of our larger trades, certain more probably trades. Guys that don't want to be off the road for a set period of time, where we can offer these services, assist, do all the planning in between, get everything done, keep the car on the road. because a lot of these cars are money to these people every single day, so we want to keep them off the road as long as possible. And also, lots of staff doesn't always mean these cars are looked after. So you give it to a staff member, you've got to make sure that they're looking after it, they're servicing it, all that sort of stuff. So they don't always sort of say these sort of things. Ideal referrals for us: tradespeople looking to grow, accountants, bookkeepers, mortgage brokers. First-time buyers are a massive one for us. Anyone self-employed in ABN. They're sort of our niches that we work in majority of the time. Now, I always have a bit of a saying, it's on my laptop, it's a bit of a goal of mine. So money doesn't buy happiness, but it's much better to cry in a Lamborghini. So if anyone would like a Lamborghini, give me a call, okay? But thanks very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.